So, what was the last film that you all saw at a cinema?
Oh.
1914.
The prequel.
The last time you saw a film.
Yeah.
Been a while,
1917.
guys.
I know it was Sonic shit.
Damn.
I thought I got to go out on a high note. It's like, if 1917 is the last movie I see in a cinema, great. But no, it was a fucking Sonic movie.
Love that Jim Carrey action. Look at that dance number he's got. It's like we never left the 90s.
Aw. Would be better at this stage. For me, it was The Invisible Man, which was a wonderful taut horror movie.
Yeah, solid
Very
ending.
good thing.
Starring Elizabeth Moss. And actually, we left the cinema going, God, wasn't it great just to do something normal? Yeah, we should do this more often.
And then the universe was like, oh, yeah.
Then I saw the facts and went, oh.
That seeks to answer the question, can disappointment become nostalgic? I'm Paul W.S. Salt.
I'm the illegal kind.
And we are deep in recommendations territory now, and we are assailed once again by those lads at the Simpsons Index. Identify yourselves, unknown subjects.
Hey, I'm Elliot J. O'Neill.
I'm subject 24601, BT Calloway.
Just for a second I had to scan for 24601. I was like, hang on, that's been sung at me at some point. They have frankly demanded that we cover Paul W.S. Anderson's 2002 action horror comedy, Resident Evil.
A deadly virus capable of contaminating the entire world has been released.
It's okay, we're here to help.
Now, an elite team has been sent in to stop it.
5 hours ago, Red Queen went homicidal.
Who's the Red Queen?
State-of-the-art artificial intelligence.
You have to get out.
Don't listen to anything she says. She's a holographic representation of the Red Queen.
Maybe our only way out of here.
How is she still standing?
She isn't standing now.
No one is immune. Resident Evil.
You're all going to die down here.
Not Paul Thomas Anderson?
Definitely not Paul Thomas Anderson.
Not Wes Anderson?
It's one of the Andersons. I am just going to read this straight from Wikipedia because it speaks for itself. In 1998, George A. Romero directed a television commercial for the video game Resident Evil 2. The game's original director, Shinji Mikami, was a fan of Romero and had been influenced by his films. The commercial was only shown in Japan, but impressed Sony enough to ask him to write and direct Resident Evil. Romero stated that he had his secretary play the entire game through and record the gameplay so that he could study it as a resource. Romero's screenplay was based on the first Resident Evil game and included characters from those games. In 2002, in an interview for Fangoria, Romero said how he wrote a total of 5 or 6 different drafts, but his script was rejected as well. Robert Kulzer, head of production, said in the same article that although Romero's script was good, the movie would have received an NC-17 rating if they went with it. Thanks, Rob.
Oh, no.
Oh, no, that's not what you want with your Resident Evil movie.
No, we're here for a family romp.
I just want to take my family to a good old-fashioned zombie-killing movie.
They need to know how to survive.
God, George.
Let's all go and see Resident Evil starring Michelle Rodriguez. Oh, no way. No way. Not with my kids.
Too saucy. But hey, let's get the guy who made Mortal Kombat in. So, he actually, he played Resident Evil.
Wait, really?
Oh, yeah, Paul W.S. Anderson directed that.
Oh, accidental playlist with the last movie we brought to you guys.
Yeah, there you go.
Can't help yourselves. So, yeah. He wrote the script as a rip-off of Resident Evil before he had gotten hired to actually write the real Resident Evil movie. So he just crossed out where he put, like, Big Scary Monster for House and wrote Resident Evil in underneath. He stated the film would not have any tie-ins with the video games as, and this is a baffling quote, underperforming movie tie-ins are too common, and Resident Evil, of all games, deserved a good celluloid representation. So you didn't want to
Hear,
reference the games because you didn't want your movies staining its reputation.
Yeah, I guess. Or the game was so good that it deserved such a good representation that you're not going to represent it.
It deserves way better than I can do. So we're not
I mean, hot take, but the game's stories are not good.
Well, they're straightforward, aren't they? Zombies get out. People get out.
Yeah.
Shit happens.
I guess it relies on other things.
I mean, the internet might be
atmosphere.
angry at me for that. They may crush me into a Jill sandwich, but I maintain.
Hey, dialogue and story are very different things. Now, the film's score was written by Clint Mansell. What?
What?
And Marco Beltrami. What? And Marilyn Manson. Oh, okay. That explains it.
Okay, that explains one of my good things.
Marilyn, shall I do a track? No! So, critics received it like a horde of ravenous ghouls. William Thomas, writing for Empire magazine, said, game fans will be disappointed. Zombie fans will be disappointed. Paul Anderson fans will be disappointed. Yeah, especially if it's the other Paul Anderson fans.
Yeah.
I hope the two Paul Andersons start their own One Good Thing podcast.
It's worked out really well for us.
I really admired the bit in Punch Drunk Love, the sort of outrage scene, and the scenes with the sisters was really quite powerful. Oh, thanks very much. I really like the scene in Soldier, where, give me a minute, Kurt Russell punched a guy.
Yeah, the scene in Soldier where Kurt Russell.
Yeah, that was great. That was inspired. Mad Dog Roger Ebert at the Chicago Sun-Times says, the movie is Dawn of the Dead crossed with John Carpenter's Ghosts of Mars, with zombies not as ghoulish as the first and trains not as big as the second. Gotta have big trains.
Yeah.
Just imagine Robert Ebert going, bigger trains, bigger trains.
He's just in the cinema going,
Wow, these trains, man.
just in the cinema going, chicka, 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 chicka. Public were no less likely to be torn apart by it. Amazon customer at Amazon said, never left a bad review in my life. This is the first. The box was empty. What a joke.
System's broken.
Mm-hmm. Why did you do this,
Start
Paul
again.
Anderson? Any of you?
How old was this reviewer? And do they understand how this works?
Yeah, I like the fact that that's where they drew the line. I've never left a bad review in my life, but this is an empty box, so something has
Or
to
maybe
be
they were being figurative and they were actually talking about the movie. The disc was there, they saw the movie. This is an empty box of a movie.
Wow, this is Amazon reviews on another level.
Yeah.
Putting the meta in Metacritic.
Nice. Mega Cricket. He's a danger to us all with his passive-aggressive noises. Yeah, but like deafening. And then I said, that's what my hat is called. Ah!
It's in my brain.
The film has 36% on Rotten Tomatoes, 6.7 on IMDb, and James Cameron considers it a guilty pleasure.
No.
Great.
There you go.
Well, can't watch his own films, I suppose.
Just literally can't, not recently. So, Elliot and BT, you lickers.
Mm-hmm.
Why do you insist that we go back into the hive?
Well, I was really surprised at the list of people that you'd said it had disappointed. The one group I know it didn't disappoint was people who love quality cinema. Because this is just... The fact that this got snubbed for an Oscar is absurd and just proves the entire system is broken. This is, I mean, you also read effectively what's the incorrect title. The synopsis really should be Mila Jovovich kicks zombies in the motherfucking face part 1 of 6. Because that's what we've got here. And if you need to know one good thing, it's that Mila Jovovich kicks zombies in the motherfucking face. Part 1 of 6, God damn it.
God almighty, they managed to keep this going for 20 years.
And another 20 more. No, I'm kidding. They're doing Monster Hunter now.
Really?
Yep.
I was going to say,
God.
has this ended? But
Yeah,
okay.
the final chapter they called the last one. But Paul, you and I know how that goes.
Oh, fuck. This is going to be our next Halloween, isn't
Mila
it?
Jovovich lives.
This time it's a sexy cult that brought her back to life and that were behind her saving the world rampages all along.
I mean, there is my spec script because she's kicked zombies in the motherfucking face. She's kicked aliens in the motherfucking face. So my script is Mila Jovovich kicks robots in the motherfucking face.
Yeah, right. You'd think it would hurt, but not Mila Jovovich.
Pacific Rim 3.
Have you seen she can hold her own by kicking zombies in the motherfucking face?
Yep.
Well, let's find out the many ways in which Mila Jovovich kicks zombies in the motherfucking face.
In the motherfucking face.
Motherfucking face. We start with exposition, and we're told that Umbrella provides most of the world's computer technology, medical products, and healthcare, but unbeknownst even to the employees, they're actually making their money through military tech, genetic experiments, and viral weaponry. Because that's where the real money's at. There's nothing in computer technology.
No.
Got to make that viral weaponry money, baby.
Yeah.
That was the 2002 version of going viral.
Also, unbeknownst to how many employees, Dave, how do these zombie dogs tie into our computer tech again? Don't worry about it. Just
It's just
keep your
there's a
head
lot of
down.
them around. They're prowling.
They're very hungry. Yeah.
It's like, if you want to talk to corporate about it, go right ahead. I was on hold for 2 hours, and then I just got transferred to another department. Fuck it, I'm just going to make zombie dogs and worry about it later.
He just looks over his shoulder, and the camera pans to a window, and the corporate's just full of zombies. Oh. No, I'll leave it.
I hate those guys. We have an intro scene featuring some great acting from a bunch of extras who have consistently excellent bone structure. Everyone in that intro just has cheeks to die for.
Aw. Which it's evidence in the end of that scene, because they all do die.
True. There's jealousy, pure jealousy on behalf of whoever.
Maybe it's easier to put zombie makeup on someone with good cheeks.
You know what? That's probably it. It's easier to make them
Nah.
look gaunt.
Yeah.
Yeah, true. LA for you.
They ran out of room for the casting call. It's just, need actor, good bones.
Tasty hungry. So, yeah, basically there's Umbrella, there's a big lab, some sort of outbreak happens, the lady gets her head cut off by a lift, and that's it. Woo!
Nice little bloodless decapitation. Again, this is a family movie.
Family film.
It's like Robert Zemeckis or something.
It's like Forrest Gump.
Yeah.
Actually, Jen, the book of Forrest Gump was pretty dark and weird.
Did it have zombies and Mila Jovovich kicking them in the motherfucking face?
Not too many zombies, but it's very weird sexually.
Yes, I've heard this. But anyway, let's not get into that. So, Mila Jovovich wakes up. She's quite naked, but not as naked as she will be at other points in this movie.
5 out of 5.
She's recharging her sexual powers currently.
Give that 100% on Rotten Tomatoes.
She wakes up all naked, and she wanders
101%.
She wanders around for a bit, and then she thinks that she hears someone outside, but it's actually just every crow.
in the comedy highlight of the movie. And then before we can wonder too much what's happening, the army's here or something.
Yeah, electric guitars, SWAT guys, guns, and everybody hoping that this might be a horror movie just files quietly out of the auditorium.
Yeah.
Never mind.
It could still be spooky.
It could be.
Dan.
It definitely could be.
They, I think, at this stage, get on the train and take it to the hive, and then once
there's
they
a guy
get
there
off...
who's a cop as well.
Oh yes, there's just
He's
some
12.
dude who's about. One of the identical men is around.
Yeah.
Oh, they're so identical.
They're so identical. I had so much trouble telling when. We'll get to it anyway. They go down to the hive, and then once they get to the hive is explained.
Yes.
And it's revealed via some Michael Bay spinning that it's a big office that you have to get into through this mansion that's way out of town. So it's not a great commute.
Not amazing.
It's right under the city as well. Like, you could probably look for a grate and hear corporate, but you still have to travel 2 hours out of the city, then get in the train.
Walk past the husband and wife team as you go into their fridge and down the stairs.
Oh god! But they are also told that both Jovovich and the cop have amnesia. Oh great! So how long will you need to keep explaining everything back to us? About another
Ages.
hour. Yeah.
Absolutely
hour.
ages, mate.
Until it's not convenient anymore. But this hive has problems though. The elevator is down. We need to daintily trot down the stairs. On it.
In a great stairs montage, yeah.
Dan.
Look, use the elevator, get decapitated. Use the stairs, get fit. I mean, come on.
Now that's a poster. Burn 500 calories a day and also not get decapitated by taking the stairs.
You don't want to lose weight that way.
Womp womp.
The head weighs 5 pounds, but you don't want to drop that.
And a picture of a head on the floor with an expression that's just like, believe me.
Yeah. Just someone like, the head's lying there going, should have taken the stairs. Boy, do I have a case of the Mondays.
Oh, God. But we need to establish some romantic tension between Cop and Mila Jovovich. So he's like, hey, you must be cold. Take my coat. Oh, no, it's fine. Thank you. Come on, girl, take my coat. It's cold down here. I'm really fine. Look, we can all see your nipples, Mila. Take the coat.
We're trying to be polite about it.
There's no subtle way to say this.
Put them away,
Put it
Mila.
on high beams there.
So
Beej is already writing his 5-star review. You need to put a jacket on.
Oh, it's written. It's written. I'm trying to smoke a cigarette.
Oh, Christ. So they follow the map. Why do they follow the map to Dining Hall B? They get to Dining Hall B and find out that it's actually a secret room full of liquors, but why were they heading there in the first place?
It's the only access to the Red Queen. Come on.
Oh, perfect. Well,
were you not paying attention to wireframe mode?
It may not have been. I may have had my mind on other things. But also, if you want to hide a room full of liquors, don't call it Dining Hall B. You know, in an office
people might
space.
go, hey, Dining Hall A is pretty good, but I've never checked out B. Let's go there for lunch.
That's quite cute here. Let's go check it out.
What's the candy room like?
Yeah, you might as well call it Unbooked Meeting Room or the place where all the staplers are fucking gone.
So yeah, they survive that miraculously, but on the way to the Red Queen, and there's a what?
Well, the audience, they came here for zombies, so let's kill a lot of our characters with lasers. Woohoo! Ooh, lasers. Ugh. Oh God, I hope when I'm in bed tonight a laser doesn't get me.
You say that. You wake up every morning because you see the sunrise. You think it's going to rise every day, Paul. Don't go to bed every night thinking lasers aren't just going to come down from the ceiling, because I promise you, there's going to be a day.
One day they will.
Like maybe by my hand, maybe not, but there will be a laser coming at you. So mark my words.
Speaking of hands, after four of them, right? Or was it 3?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Have been killed by lasers.
4. It's Johnson from Torchwood. There's
Girl.
Ginger guy.
Yep.
Yeah, there's girl who got no dialogue.
Yep.
Yeah, that's her. That's Johnson.
Yeah.
But good bones.
Yeah, fantastic.
Very
Great
good bones.
Very good
She's
bones.
also in Dead Set.
Oh, right. Oh, that's cool.
So
Better
there you
zombie
go.
thing.
Zombies. That's her niche now. That and Torchwood.
Zombies and lasers and Torchwood. So, but after that, a guy goes through the corridor all tentatively, but then Mila Jovovich decides to sneak up on the prick and puts a hand on his shoulder, and he's like, lasers! Oh, thank God. That's right. Lasers don't have hands.
There's a nice handful of cute jump scares in this movie.
Yeah.
James Purefoy's in this movie as well. He turns up. Oh, shit.
He's one of the identical men. So...
Oh, come on, Paul. He's got a very interesting t-shirt face sort of combination. I remember that everyone in this film. I can probably describe who they are and what their roles are. I've seen this more than twice.
I have no patience for you and your uncanny ability to tell identical white men apart. Oh look, it's Scoot McNairy, you say. That's not a thing anyone can say. It's like, I can't believe it's not butter.
It's simple. The one with the early 2000s spiky hair is the good guy, and the one with the early 2000s swooped hair is the bad guy.
Well, it's swooped forward as well, so he's extra bad.
Oh, what a
And
dick.
He's bad, yeah.
And then you've got the guy with the military haircut that's kind of longer, that's the tech guy, he's kind of nervous. You've got the one that's with the shorter hair that kind of looks like Kirk Avicillo when he's upside down. He's the bad, sexy sort of Todd from Scrubs guy.
It's like you're
Then you've got
describing
Michelle
different
Rodriguez. Now,
apples
Paul,
to me.
she's a lady, and
I can just about make
she's
out
great.
Michelle Rodriguez. Everyone else is a homogenous blob. Well, we're 40 minutes into the movie, so probably time our first zombie should show up. It shows up and it gets taken out bloodlessly.
Yeah,
after taking a chunk out of
Yeah.
Michelle Rodriguez.
Zombies don't have blood. Paul. That's why they want it.
It could have had an equilibrium-style dust at the very least.
Yeah.
Like a dry fart.
I draw the line there. As long as we're not going into sucker punch, steam or magic dust.
Really?
Sucker Punch is a weird one, man. I'll talk about it later.
Let's
Oh,
talk about
Christ.
sucker punching, everyone.
But then dozens of heavily CGI-affected zombies attack. Ah!
Yeah.
And they get bloodlessly taken out.
Clarification: 2000s era CGI.
Yeah.
Set to a 2000s era heavy metal sort of dancey industrial track.
By Marilyn
Yeah.
Manson.
Clint Mansell's soundtrack gets drowned out by the Drop D saga. And
He was
this
trying.
they've already shut down the Red Queen, right?
Oh,
That's
yeah,
after
yeah,
the
they
lasers.
just did
They
that,
shut down
yeah.
the Red Queen. She says, "You're going to die down here."
You're all
And
going
Michelle
to die
Rodriguez
down
goes, "Let me at her! I'll fucking cut her."
You're like, damn it, it's a hologram woman. You can't cut it.
Let me try, amigo. So at this stage, Michelle Rodriguez yells, "I'm running low on ammo. You might want to take your gun off of full auto.
Yeah. Stop shooting them repeatedly in the chest.
Stop trying to shoot the little girl. It's not going to work. You don't know that."
I'm trying to shoot the air around me. It's the only way. Oh. So yeah, there are more zombies and
More zombies. They get behind a door, and someone's like, "What are these things?" Well, it's pretty obvious to me what they are. Wearing lab coats. They're former employees here.
Yeah, I did
Yes.
love that bit.
You're right. I mean, you're right. Yes.
Yeah.
But all the former employees here are dead. These people can't be dead.
Maybe they're
What's
unions.
going on?
Maybe they're striking. Well,
This is a very aggressive unionist action. God damn it, Trump was right. So, yeah, Mila gets separated from the group, and some dogs appear. Yay!
yay! The highlight, I think, like what I remembered and what everybody told me the highlight was of this movie.
Well, she shoots a lot of them. We see some of it. And then she does
Yeah.
Do we, Paul? Do we see some of it?
We see, we see more of the dogs getting blown apart than the zombies.
We see Mila Jovovich
there's a
firing
frame.
a gun, and then there's one shot of a dog being moved like past the camera. Clearly, the hands are underneath
Yeah.
the lens.
Somewhere James Wen is watching this and it's just like,
I mean, when you have eyes like that, you want to stare it down as often as possible.
True.
well, those dogs, I agree. Pretty fuckable. So,
Especially covered in all that sauce.
ooh. Saucy dogs. So then, yeah, she does kick a dog in the middle of the air, and it's something to behold.
Kick a dog in the motherfucking face.
Kick a zombie dog in the motherfucking face.
There
I
you
could
go.
forget. At this stage, one of the identical men reveals that he is working on blowing the whole thing wide open, and then scene missing, both he and Mila are running for their lives. We
Yep.
did not get an establishing shot of that. But, yeah, they're running for their lives, and they get to a secure place where they are told that the contamination procedure is in place. And this is a really good procedure, because what happens is the alarm is tripped, and then a swift 6 hours later, the place is completely locked down. No one's coming in or out after about a quarter of a day.
You can set your watch by scientists and unionists. they go in, and if there's a job to do, they get it done
In
So you
6
can
hours.
just- yeah, in 6 hours, no more. 6 hour days, Paul. It's what they want.
Oh, God. So I think they, at this stage, turn the Red Queen back on, and they ask her, what? She talks about the military applications of the T-virus. What are they, exactly? It's an incredibly infectious and very easily spread contagion. How are
Yeah.
you going to use it in the Middle East?
Drop it
You know.
on the Middle East.
Winning the hearts and minds.
Yeah, just wave it about a bit.
Maybe that would be hearts and brains.
Love it. She also mentions that hair and fingernails grow after death. No, they don't. Get back in the box, movie.
Oh, so that thing I learned in all those kids' fun science books was wrong.
Yeah.
What kind of kids'
Oh.
books?
I thought that was. I thought that was true as well.
Nah, it's a myth.
Nah.
The head thing is because the skin kind of shrivels and it kind of looks a bit, but it's no. All of manufacturing hair and nails requires oxygen supply to the cells that do it,
Oh.
and that stops.
You keep
pretty
making
quick.
snot, though, don't you? That's not a lie.
Oh, that part of the kid's book was definitely correct.
Yeah, snot has a life of its own.
Yeah.
It just uses your body as a conduit.
We're all going to be outlived by our snot. So
You've seen Venom, right? It's basically the same thing, only grosser.
So-
but more entertaining.
at this stage, the action does start to remind me of Uwe Boll, and
Oh.
there's some.
Well, let's not say things we can't take back.
There's some extreme naughties editing, which reveals to us that the other identical man is the traitor. He's behind all of this. The spreading of the virus, the closure of the lab, the spilled coffee, everything.
Yeah.
No, cheekbones, it was you?
His motive? Unknown.
It's James Purefoy for anybody who gives a shit. or remembers anyone from this movie.
Well, bad Purefoy is killed by a bad CGI liquor off-screen. But we do get to relish the only gory effect in the movie for a few seconds when he comes back to life.
Yeah, a few seconds, though.
Yeah,
Pretty good.
Yeah, it's pretty bloody. It's like something out of Event Horizon. So, Jovovich auditions for the role of John Boyega and yells Ray a few times at Michelle Rodriguez, who has been incidentally bitten and is slowly turning into a zombie throughout all of this.
Doing her best, like, always looking up at the camera face.
Ooh,
like, I'm pretty sure I never saw
badass.
the tops of the whites of her eyes in the entire movie.
Don't exist.
Again, she's kind of short.
Yeah, true.
So the camera's just a little bit too high for her.
Yeah.
Can you lower the camera? No.
Paul W.S. Anderson, he's the new Kubrick. He's refuses to operate on anyone else's level.
We've got a really weird NASA lens. If we lower the camera by an inch, everything will be out of focus. Well, that sounds inopportune in every kind of way. It is. Action.
Magic in cinema.
The liquor scratches other identical dude. Not Purefoy. Not Feroy. And then some Spawn-esque flame effects later, and the liquor is finally dead. There was only one of them, huh? There were a lot of vats back in that cafeteria, but oh well.
Mm-hmm.
Just one came to life. Yeah, so at this stage, they, what's her name? How does, what's her name actually die? She becomes a zombie, right? Michelle Rodriguez.
Michelle Rodriguez. Yeah.
Yep.
And spiky-haired guy, identical guy shoots her in the head.
That's right, yep.
And then she falls back onto the door release button.
Which is very cool and planned.
So they get to the lobby of the house where Mila is about to disinfect her facially nondescript boyfriend. And suddenly a bunch of men in white coats arrive and stop her. There's light shining intensely on everything and it's all in slow motion. It's a devastating scene with some kick-ass dance music to it.
What is it? Maybe you're infected. You'll be okay. I'm not losing you.
Fuck yeah.
Well, you say slow motion, but it's like at, I don't know, 15 frames per second. So it's got like that real tacky, like blurring in between the two like frames.
And some very hard cuts between different takes. You can quite easily tell.
There were some doctors around. Is that Jason Isaacs? It was. I could tell him by his eyes.
Wow.
Really?
Yeah, he's in the end. And I was like, that guy looks like Jason Isaacs. And I looked it up. It was Jason Isaacs.
Jesus. All I could think in that was, don't doctors always look really kind when they've just got those masks on and they're looking at you from above?
Okay, take the penis. Aw.
All right, then.
Speaking of which, we now have to ask the question, just how much more naked can we get Mila Jovovich? Because we do see some vag.
Yeah. There's a little bit.
Hooray.
There's like the
There's a hint of
hillock.
vag.
Yeah.
Family movie, bring
There's
the
a
kids.
crest.
It's silhouetted, but you can tell.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like when she's lying on the floor and goes to get up, a little more than a silhouette. There's a fold. Hey, I'm not knocking it. It's very brave. I bet in France this movie was a PG.
Egregious gazy shots in this movie? Well, I never.
Yeah.
It is one of those weird things where they clearly just put butcher's paper on her and didn't like give her one of those modesty pouch thingies.
Yeah.
They just literally just went, "Hey, you're naked, it's good." She's like, "Yeah, cool."
Is she still married
Yeah.
to Paul W.S. Anderson?
Yep, they've just had their third kid.
Ah.
Well, there we go.
Yeah.
I didn't know. B, she
Oh,
must
really?
be heartbroken.
Oh, yeah.
Oh man, no, I'm happy she's living her best life.
One
You're
day
a good
one day I shall feel the same way about Alison Hannigan. So she hacks a card reader with a pin that she's got, and turns out you just have to scratch it a bit. And then Raccoon City's gone to shit. Time to get ready for Resident Evil 2.
Yeah. I mean, who knows what they're going to cook up for that film, and then how they're going to end that one and lead it into the next one, and so
So
on.
if you want to watch a bad Resident Evil movie, number 2 is bad. The rest are all amazing, but 2 is bad.
Apocalypse, yeah, I've heard it's a bit ropey. Although I do seem to remember there's a bit when Mila rides a motorcycle into a church. The motorcycle inexplicably starts traveling up into the air, where she then shoots it and explodes.
Yeah. It worked really well for Die Hard 4.
The most famous and best of all Die Hards, apparently.
I don't remember any of the other Resident Evils being any worse than this one.
I actually
Stupider,
remember.
probably.
Arguably, they got better. So
I kind of liked the third one, if I remember correctly. The one set in the desert with the knives and stuff.
Yep, Extinction, pretty good.
Yeah, I remember liking that.
Just liking it, but laughing all the way through, and not in a sort of, oh, this is so bad it's good. Just, yeah, this is mental. Why? How these just keep getting made?
Do not get me wrong, it was a bad movie, but I remember finding it enjoyably bad, that one.
Yeah, right. Okay. Well, I'll allow that.
Okay, so let's go around the table, starting with Elliot. Tell us how you found this particular rewatch of Resident Evils.
Oh, this wasn't a rewatch. This was just a regular old watch.
We hadn't seen it before.
No, this was all Beej's idea to bring
Golly.
this one to the... I mean, it was fine, I guess. I don't know. My big thing was I just wish it was a bit more fun because I like bad, fun movies, but...
Yeah.
This one was just sort of a bit of a slow drag throughout the majority of it, and I think, yeah, you said it before, it was like 50 minutes until we saw our first zombie, but, I mean, I enjoyed the throwback of it all, like, especially we watched it on the DVD, which was just so,
Nice.
only a couple of years post-Matrix sort of DVD.
Oh, beautiful.
I mean, as we said at the time, the new metal on the select menu was just so very early 2000s.
A 20-second sample that just faded out very quickly before it starts again.
Yeah, the menu looked like a red Matrix ripoff and had a Slipknot music video. It was pretty fucking rad.
Oh, Jesus, man. What a monument. What a monument to a time and a place. BT, what did you make of your rewatch of Resident Evil? And what did this mean to you?
This is my rewatch.
Right.
RE, standing for Resident Evil.
Yeah, naturally.
Nice.
Unless you're in Japan and then it's Biohazard. Man, okay, so yeah, it was a little slower pace than I remembered it being, but once the full zombies kick in, the whole nostalgia tripped in for me, and this is exactly my kind of shit. It's just the right kind of terrible for me. I also, having watched the entire saga multiple times, it is kind of the first two, they take themselves a little too seriously, and then they kind of realize, hang on, we're making dumbass movies, let's just have a fuck ton of fun and not give a shit, which they do, and I highly appreciate any media that understands what it is and just leans into it and is like, if you don't like it, that's fine, we're just going to have as much fun as possible.
Yeah, it does look like they got camper as they went on.
Yeah. But like knowingly camper, that's always the big difference when they know. It's but yeah, little things actually kind of stuck out to me. I do like that the jump scares in this aren't like, they don't come with a big soundtrack moment of bah! like so many other jump scares do. They're still tacky, but they're less tacky than you might have expected.
They all do that same sort of treble sweep wind up though.
Yeah, and then silence and then something happens.
Yeah.
But it's not, doesn't come with that full, like, if you ever want a bad time, watch Wish Upon, which has possibly the single loudest jump scare in history.
Oh, really?
It's just egregious. It's like, silence, and then I'll have to scream into the mic to replicate it, so I won't.
Okay.
But it's like in the first 5 minutes, so don't watch the rest of the film, but if you want to hear the world's loudest jump scare, 5 minutes of Wish Upon.
I will check that out. Okay, cool. Well, that's good. That's a good take. So, Goodman, what did you make of watching it, and what was your relationship with this movie beforehand?
Yeah, look, as a teenager, this was just on all the time. I had it on in the background. I never was a huge fan. I kind of knew that it was crap, but I just enjoyed... I enjoyed the fact that it was Resident Evil. I loved all the zombies. I remembered it being way more dynamic than it actually is. But on rewatch, I thought I actually really enjoyed the build-up. I enjoyed the idea that maybe there won't be zombies. And I found there was a lot of real grimness there. Like killing the way everybody was dispatched coldly by the system at the beginning and the lasers. All very grim and fatalistic, and everything up until the zombies I thought this is stupid, but I'm on board. The execution of the zombies was pretty lame, and just not, it was shot reverse shot, and it was the same thing we were talking about with Godzilla King of the Monsters last week. Just show more of the zombies doing cool stuff.
That was my problem, I think. When I saw 4 of them get killed by the lasers, I just thought, well, they don't have anyone left to get killed by the zombies or like the other monsters. And that was really
it felt like nothing was happening until everything was happening.
I liked it. I liked the fact that it was more than zombies there, that it was just going to be so grim for the humans. But
Right.
I think just they needed to make, when the zombies were actually on screen, just to make them cooler. At least, is it Day of the Dead? Or Land of the Dead?
Fuck yeah.
The one with Simon... What's his face?
That's Land.
That's Land.
When it does that thing where the zombie that looks like it doesn't have a head and it just snaps back on from behind before killing it.
Yeah.
It's so stupid. It's not a particularly good film, but it's got the cool zombie shit that makes you go, oh yeah. The closest this film got was the one that was dragging the axe or the bat or whatever it was.
His foot's all
the axe
like
drag, and it's
Dawn
stepping
of
on
the
its own
Dead.
ankle. And it's just
It's like the guy from Dawn of the Dead. Yeah, that was a cool
Good
sort
entrance,
of reference. Yeah. I mean, from my perspective, I loved the Resident Evil games when I was growing up. So I do remember coming into contact with this film as a kid. I had some kind of this is such a nostalgia fest. This episode, some kind of trailer DVD that I'd probably gotten with a magazine.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a trailer for 28 Days Later, and I had a trailer for Resident Evil. And I remember being so disappointed by the Resident Evil trailer that I didn't even bother to see it until years later, because I disliked the fact that they revealed it was a lab in the trailer, because in the game it's kind of a twist. It's just a big spooky house, and then eventually you find a lab underneath.
Right.
Oh, right.
And I was such a sort of purist at that age, I wasn't willing to accept the idea that they give away that it's a lab, but I do remember seeing the laser thing and just thinking, oh, that's not right. That's not scary, that's sci-fi, and I wanted horror. But having said that, revisiting it, this is the most naughty's ass film ever made. The rock music, the obnoxious editing, the terrible CGI, the bloodlessness, which was a very naughty's phenomenon. The idea of and into 2010s, the idea of let's appeal to the teen market by taking all the gore out. But I feel like it was inspired by Aliens. A little bit by Alien Resurrection, weirdly. I got vibes of that from some of the sequences.
Yeah.
I feel like it was inspired by Cube. And I feel like it was
Yes,
inspired by...
that's definitely what I was thinking with the lasers.
Yeah, definitely. And The Matrix. What with the slow motion kicking. I don't feel like it was necessarily inspired by the Resident Evil video game franchise enjoyed by young and old alike.
No, overtly not.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, this is the
not
thing
a
with the
horror film.
retrospect, because at the time of release, a lot of people were very angry the movie didn't have anything to do with the games. But over time, as the games got more and more ridiculous and convoluted, and the movies remained surprisingly consistent, I think that kind of switched over time.
Yeah.
Well, there's a weird thing where the games started to be inspired by the movies, because in Resident Evil 4 you do have lasers you need to dodge out of the way of, so...
Oh,
There was
see,
a
that,
weird
really?
Yeah, I'm not on
particular-
board with
yeah.
that as a gaming system in a Resident Evil game. No,
Hey,
thank
Resident
you.
Evil 4 was the best of them, was one of the best of them, but it's
I don't
just...
think I got to that level. Did you have to guide the girl away from the lasers as well?
No, I don't think so. It was one of the bits where you're apart, but it's not really it's not a horror film. It's an action film, and the horror elements are rendered silly by their inability to show any gore in a zombie film. Well, I was just gonna say the team spend about 3 minutes in the spooky house. There's a spooky house. They spend a few minutes there before they head straight for the lab, and that's where the rest of the film takes place. And for me, that represents my issue with the film, because the house is atmospheric. It's creepy. Creepy things might be in the shadows and the darkness and the weird architecture. It's an interesting set. The lab is endless grey corridors. Now, I've been playing Resident Evil games for nearly 20 years, and almost all of them end in an incredibly unmemorable sequence set in a lab, and they rush straight to that sequence.
Yeah. The relief of being in the lab at the end of the game is palpable, because it's just not as threatening, and I can at least stand in a room and catch my breath. But yeah, you're right. The most memorable stuff is the creepy old mansion or police station or whatever.
Although, in the games, isn't the mansion a lot of find these 3 random objects that's going to open this statue door?
But
there
whilst
some
horrible things are happening, and whilst you're being chased with one bullet in the chamber.
Yeah.
I didn't actually get to the lab in Resident Evil. I've never gotten that far in the first one, because as a kid I found it's too scary. I couldn't continue. I got to a certain point and it was just too difficult, too scary. And then finally Resident Evil 2 was a bit easier, so I could complete it.
I had the same thing. I completed Resident Evil 2, but not the first one. I completed Resident Evil when the remake came out. But no, I love that. I love that feeling of, well, I've got this key now. I need to go down that hallway to see if it opens anything. I will get killed by something that will tear off my face and wear it forever if I do that. So maybe I'll just not go that way.
Yeah,
I'll
figure
tear
out a
off
different
my
way.
face, wear it, and host my podcast.
No difference. No difference in quality. If anything, it's more coherent.
So,
and then the one final thing I want to say is that if you're making a film to appeal more to teens, then you really just got to make an R-rated movie.
Oh God,
teens
they'll
will
get
seek
in.
that out. They will step over their burning parents to stick a copy of it in their face.
Yeah, but the ticket sales go to other movies in that case, like what was around 2000 era, Hercules or something. Like buying tickets for Hercules and sneaking into Resident Evil.
We got into Face Off. We will find a way to get into Resident Evil if you make it violent enough. So, yeah, I'm old enough now and understand enough about adaptation and the merits of adapting things into different genres that I don't resent that it's not a horror film, but I do resent that it's not a good action film.
Yeah,
it is
it's
cheesy.
just full of cheesy dialogue, wooden performances, embarrassing
so wooden.
directorial decisions,
But
very staid.
It's like a good croissant. You want it full of cheese and ham.
Fuck yeah, I do. Now you said that. This movie's great.
With a chocolate bar on the side for alternate.
Fuck yes. I'm so glad that got us to your website. Oh, fuck. Anywho, yeah, to answer my initial question as to whether or not my disappointment became nostalgic, kind of. I mean, this was a nostalgic film, and the trappings of it are so related to the stuff I used to watch when I was a kid. You know, I started thinking about lots of other disappointing films, like that Doom movie that they made with Dwayne The Rock Johnson in it before he was good. You know, it's...
Yeah, that thing is a weird mess.
Isn't it? We'll have to cover that someday. But...
Yeah. I'll be on that one if you need.
Stop coming on this podcast and suggesting films to Paul that he'll remember now, and we have to do.
I mean, it's your thing. I'm just trying to help it.
Did anyone else have any other final thoughts before we quickfire?
I just love this era of cinema, or just with any art media in general in the early 2000s, where they were just obsessed with silver and chrome and shiny.
Yeah, right.
And I just love how it was all so shiny and new and chromy back then, but now the sheen is just taken off. Maybe it is just that we're watching an old bad DVD on, a reasonably good TV. That sheen of the chrome just gets taken off. And there is something endearing about it, I gotta say. Like,
You've made me think of the first X-Men movie where just everything is chrome. Like the
Yes.
Cerebro, the doors.
no, it just makes me want to peroxide my tips all over again,
Nice. It's a sweet look.
And the other thing with, all the identical white men. I swore I saw Jason Ritter, at 7 points in that movie, just because those guys all looked like discount bargain bin Jason Ritters, who himself is a discount bargain bin of James Marsden.
Right.
It's like when you get the character customization options in a video game and you, get 9 tiles around your character.
Yeah.
How about this alternate version?
You want Buff Boy 1 or Buff Boy 2?
Slightly smaller eyebrows, slightly bigger eyebrows. What do you want?
There was a lot of difference between babyface good guy, nervous tech guy, and rapey douchey other guy.
Also Timothy Oliphant is a person who could be recognized on the street. Nobody believes you, Paul. This is all outrageous. So,
what were you? Did you have any other notes?
I have a fuck ton of other notes. What are you talking about? I don't know if they belong in rapid power or anything.
Hey, BT, do you and I want to just do a separate podcast about this? We talk about this for about 3 hours.
Sick. Yeah, we got a whole series to go through, man.
Paul and Elliot can just focus on, I don't know, The Godfather or something.
Some nonsense like that. Like, whoever saw that movie? No, I did want to say, actually, because I appreciate that, it is more of an action film than a horror film, but in any horror film, your main point has to be isolation and disempowerment.
Sure.
And I do quite like that in this one, the way they get there is by having them go deep into the core of this thing, and then when they turn the power off, that's what unleashes all the zombies. I quite like that that's how they get isolated and disempowered, because of their own doing, effectively. So, and that, if they had opened the doors and there'd been zombies straight away, they would have been like, well, this is fucked, let's leave.
It's a creepy
but
idea
the fact that they get right deep into things before things go complete fucked, I actually quite like that as a turning plot point.
Yeah, it's creepy. The idea they walked past all of the dangerous stuff, not realizing it was dangerous, and then having accomplished the goal, they now have to leave again, going past all the stuff that's now out. That is a spooky idea. Like, the distance is good between us and safety.
And I think it's overdone in this, but I do like the bit where there's that corpse just floating in the water and they leave and it opens its eyes. It's, they zoom in on it too much and they give it too much effect. If they had just had it quietly open its eyes in the background, that would have been
spooky.
terrifying.
Yeah.
But that was the style at the time, like having an onion on your belt.
Okay. Tell you what, let's talk about more things we liked about the movie, because I'm kind of doing it now. Let's quickfire. Quickfire. Paul, do you want to get started?
Sure. I thought it was a well built up opening. I thought it was really grim as the complex shuts itself down with this. Yeah. There's particularly one shot with the system analysing mortality levels in the room.
Yeah.
As everybody's just slowly choking on gas. It's
bleak.
Very, very futile.
And that one woman just pleading with the system, saying there's no fire here while the room is filling up with water.
Yeah. The guy trying to break the glass, and he goes to smash the axe into it, and it hard cuts to the other side. This tiny chip comes out of it.
Yeah.
It's all, very, very futile.
Yeah. There's a good bit of visual communication and a callback to that, where someone is going to the same window and picks up the axe and then looks at the dents and it's like, oh, okay, someone's tried this. That was
Michelle
good.
Rodriguez, I think.
Yeah, nobody says like, oh, it's not going to work.
Yeah. Yeah.
And speaking of that opening, I mean, I think my first one, the woman squeezing through the tiny gap on the lift, that was awful. I didn't like that. Like, before it moved or anything, when it's just like a really tight gap and she's trying to force her way through, that was a really, really small gap that she was never going to make, and I hated that. It really upset me.
Really feeds into, like, any elevator anxiety that I'm sure, like, all of us have.
Yeah.
I don't really think about it all that often. Elevators are my slaves, and I remind myself of that on a daily basis.
Sometimes I send them all the way back to the bottom just for the fuck of it.
I tell you what to do.
Yeah. Never forget, you work for me, Schindler.
Schindler's Lifts.
Yeah, literally the brand is Schindler's Lifts.
Are you serious?
100% serious. Check the brand name on most escalators and elevators next time you're in one. Not all, obviously.
Yeah.
But Schindler's Lift, and it's completely unrelated. They're just a company called Schindler, and they happen to make lifts.
That's amazing.
I know. I looked it up.
Elliot.
I just have a note. What is Miller's face?
Perfection.
Very expressive.
Like, I get that, like, she's amnesiac or whatever. Anyway, and she's, like, trying to figure shit out, but she's just got the face of someone that I've just told what the premise of my multiple podcasts is.
Every aspect of her face is reacting differently to it.
Yeah.
I liked when she was trying. The tech guy was explaining what he was doing, and she just couldn't look like she just couldn't be fucked with it, even though it's literally life or death for her. She just looked like, yeah, great. No, this model of hive is actually very interesting. They made one in Belgium. It was actually just couldn't give a fuck.
Blah blah blah.
But yeah, my only other note was I got a big chuckle out of the spinning camera debrief, where they're catching up Miller and everyone else on the plot of the movie, and like just the camera's spinning for no particular artistic reason. Like, yeah, spinny camera debrief.
Nice.
BT?
Yeah, a first real shot of Michelle Rodriguez. She holds a torch in her teeth. That's how you know she's a badass. She holds tools in her teeth unnecessarily before she even jumps down.
Cool.
Oh, I was just going to say that Rodriguez's screen presence is really good in this. I really enjoyed her sort of looks and her kind of menace a lot of the time, and her sort of, there was something charming about her as well, and sort of how she dealt with her imminent death was, quite affecting. I enjoyed that.
I do legitimately love the bit where they're kind of trapped by zombies and she's been hurt, because everyone bites Michelle Rodriguez in this movie.
Yeah.
But I do like the way she's just bleeding on them and just, watching them kind of whipping them into a frenzy. It's a ugly moment of nihilism that I quite like.
Yeah, and I'm like a big fan of Michelle Rodriguez, and I guess this is just because it was earlier in her career. I just found 50% of her deliveries just a bit stiff and just backing up the whole wooden point again. But, she was a bright spot in the movie, and yeah, I agree. I love those scenes and her denial of, nah, I'm fine.
Yeah, when she's getting dragged out and she looks half dead, she's like, when I get out of here, think I'll get laid.
Yeah, girl. Yeah, you fucking will.
I liked when James Purfoy leaves after his awful monologue, and there's a very brief pause, and she goes, "Your boyfriend's an asshole."
Goodman, your next one?
Slipknot. Look, there are so many points in this movie where I just think of the music video to plague me. And the first one is the woman's hair in the elevator doors. The way it sticks out in the air as she falls always felt really weird when watching the music video. Slipknot are fucking great. That's a great song. And I enjoy being reminded of it all the way through the movie up until where they play it in the end credits.
Good stuff.
And then followed by Fear Factory. Fuck, this is an early 2000s playlist.
Coal Chamber, I think.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Trent Reznor's on there.
Yeah,
Jesus.
Trent Reznor. I didn't know
Jesus
Coal
Christ.
Chamber as well were in the soundtrack.
Oh dear. Well, there's a bunch of details from her first waking up that I like. First of all, the fact that she goes to test her own handwriting is really the first hint we get that she has amnesia. And it's a good one. It's interesting.
Good.
Just seeing she
And
writes
I do
to see if it's her
appreciate
writing.
I do appreciate they don't stop and she doesn't go, "That's not my writing." It just-
Yeah.
you figure it
They
out.
let us see it. And then the handguns, the machine guns that were locked away by a combination lock, that's some Resident Evil shit right there.
Yeah.
It's kind of disappointing that at no point did they get unlocked and used, but immediately I was just like, okay, I need to read through every memo I have because I want those machine guns.
It would be really, really great to have seen a heart and a club and a diamond like lock on the front of it there, and she just goes, "Oh, never gonna find these."
Need 3 random objects. Damn it.
Random. This?
Stapler? Oh, I know. And it just shoots the glass and takes the guns.
Yeah.
They had a bit of a mention to Nemesis at the end. I can't
Yeah.
quite remember what
The
it was.
Nemesis
when
program.
the nondescript white guy is mutating, like, I want him in the Nemesis program. Sequel.
Yeah.
And he does, I
Just
think. I think in Apocalypse he does show up, and Mila has a moment where it's like, nondescript white guy from the last movie. And he's like, and then...
Oh yeah, that does happen. Oh, great. Look, he's harder to recognise when he's no longer the nondescript white guy. So who has the last laugh now? Paul.
Shit, he looks less bland. I can't tell him now.
I recognise him as Nemesis, to be fair.
Actually, yeah, if he had looked like Nemesis throughout this movie, I would have found it a lot easier.
Let's throw to a segment from our friends at Baby Beard Media's Shut Up and Take My Podcast with some Ellen's Fashion Corner.
Wink.
Wink.
Mila Jovovich's asymmetrical dress is very good and very iconic to this movie and just kind of cool.
Very. Yeah, it's really an image that's stuck with me, especially with the leather jacket over the top.
Yep,
Yeah.
and the thigh-high boots and all that.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
Actually, I did have a question. Did the leather jacket fit her better, like, after the initial scene when he gives it to her? Like, I
Yeah.
swear it shrinks.
Well, I mean, leather is very reactive to heat.
Yeah, okay.
And she's pretty
I
hot,
don't know.
so...
There is that. The soundtrack, not the guitars, but the low-key electro stuff, which turns out to be Clint Mansell and the other guy.
Oh,
Jesus.
fuck, yeah, Beltrami.
Yeah.
He's done all sorts of good stuff, so, yeah.
Very cool ambient 90s video game stuff. I liked it.
Yeah, the little glimpses we get into the liquor hutch when they look in through the window, we just get little glimpses of like weird stuff because the physical effect liquor isn't great. He's a bit like a sock puppet with a brain attached. But when it's just like little glimpses of flesh, like I don't know, the music videos are closer or something. It's it's upsetting, and I like it.
Oh, was that the crawly zombie?
Yeah,
Yeah, the
Yeah, I actually did like how it looked like the brain was sort of pulsating out of the skull thing. I thought that was actually like a pretty decent visual for otherwise a pretty bad visual.
yeah.
Hey, it's a gross motherfucker.
Yeah.
I do like that everyone's first encounter with a zombie, regardless of movie, is always the same. It's always, stop, bang, oh no, why aren't you falling down? Bang, bang, bang. And this was back when it was still acceptable. I think now if you were writing a zombie movie, you have to come up with a different way to have that first encounter. But at least this was in an era when we hadn't done it 40,000 times yet, so... You know, props.
Yeah.
Coal Chamber on IMDb under the Resident Evil soundtrack.
There we
Yeah,
go.
glad that was accurate. I really loved it when she's in the mansion and she heads outside, and it's deadly quiet, and she ventures a hello to the darkness. Only it's before she can get the full word out of her mouth, it's just cut off by a swarm of insane birds. A million of them just flying into the sky. And then it cuts back to her face. And out of context, you just think, what a comedic masterclass that scene was.
So there's a couple of moments of zombie swarming I quite like. First of all, when one of them gets pulled into the crowd, I think it's early on after the first zombie attack, we get a bit of a POV of all the hands like reaching and grabbing at its face. And that was quite disturbing.
So I was going to say that's because that's a bit where they're trying to get access to the elevator, and you think, okay, that's going to be their way out.
Yes,
and
then
they open the door, and it's just packed, and that just immediately fucks them. I quite like that bit.
Yeah.
That is quite a fun reveal. And then the other one is later during the pipe gag, where the guy, has put a gun in his mouth, and he looks like he's about to shoot himself. And I really did think he would, even though they basically rip off the gag at the end of Dawn of the Dead, where it looks like he shot himself, but he actually just shot the next zombie who comes through the door. But I still liked it, and I became interested in his perspective. Like, he's wounded, he's injured, he's in trouble, and now he's got to get away from a horrible zombie horde whilst crawling around the place. And I was like, can we follow him? But now we went back to Mila Jovovich and her sitch. But yeah, there was a little bit of investment there for me.
Aww. I liked his face when it cuts back. He's very sort of fed up. Oh. Knew I'd shoot that zombie and not me.
God damn it, I was hoping when we cut back to me I'd be dead.
They're just all dead from one bullet. Yeah, great bit of terrible dialogue with the heroic nondescript white boy, who I must say his dialogue in this entire movie is awful. But there's a bit where he's like,
corporations like Umbrella think they're above the law, but they're not.
It's like, ooh, hot take. Jeez. It's like, there are thousands of us around the world who think this way. It's like, who believe in the justice system? Yeah, I think there's a lot more than thousands, dude.
There are dozens of us. Dozens.
When all this business is over, we'll get to our new right-wing governments with more state control than ever before, and we'll be talking about those dozens of people. Seriously, on Reddit, there's loads of them.
Good to know they're out there.
I really like that they disabled the lasers only after they've just gone through the captain.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, fuck you.
I'd have backed up a bit.
There's a bit where Michelle Rodriguez comes into shot, hops onto a ledge, and in a squat, very comfortably transfers her weight from one foot to the other. It's very smooth and very cool. Michelle Rodriguez trains for the roles, trains for life. She actually looks, like she would be capable of taking care of herself in any situation.
You got to live the roles you want.
Yeah, you can tell when any action hero is actually prepared for the role.
Yeah,
you can tell on screen, and I think Michelle Rodriguez is prepared for this. Prepared for anything, like I just said.
She's like Stanislavski, man. An actor prepares.
He's using that method.
When Michelle Rodriguez is sitting on that little ledge and she's got this bleeding hand, the camera cuts to her holding it out over this pit of zombies, and the zombies are underneath just waving their hands madly, all going, whoa, 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 whoa. It's a very good cut too. I liked the idea that James Purefoy was the bad guy all along, but only just remembered. I thought that was really fun. Because it's a really cool way of getting around the, haha, I've been behind this all along. It was, oh yeah. Turns around,
wait a second, I've been around behind this all along.
Yeah, turns out. And then lastly, Kaplan, the tech guy, very healthy, very buff, in a nice way. Not oversized or carrying carpets, just like he, steamed chicken breasts, vegetables and brown rice.
He's taking care of himself.
Yeah, it's nice to see, in this crazy world of excess. It's good to see somebody just eating vegetables. To see them eating vegetables.
I hope Mila Jovovich ends up with him. Does she?
We'll see. In Resident Evil 2, Apocalypse.
In 10, Kaplan's back.
No, I'm kidding. He died on the train.
Oh.
The hunter killed him.
Wait, Apocalypse was the second one?
Yeah.
Apocalypse.
Yep.
Yeah. The end.
Okay.
Apocalypse, Extinction, Afterlife, Retribution, Final Chapter.
Nice.
Extinction is the third.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. Well, with that, Vicky, do you want to say any remaining notes that you have?
Absolutely, I do. So I do like the little detail where the walls around the underground office all have like a cityscape to try and keep the people from feeling like they're isolated. It's a good detail that doesn't really pertain anything to the plot, but again, it's just a detail of the office and a way it would actually work. There's a bit with a flaming zombie comes after, I think it's Kaplan, and you know what? Flaming zombies are always good, regardless of what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
There's a great bit with the villainous nondescript white guy. The heroic nondescript white guy when he's searching through his sister's desk, and then like the zombie kind of shows up outside the glass wall on the other side. He's like, but then realizes he can't get him, kind of just leaves. It's funny, unintentional comedy. I do quite like when the villain's making his big grand speech, has them all at gunpoint. The zombie in the water quietly stands up behind him. You think, okay, that's gonna kill him. No, he just gets bit and still maintains control, and then dies later to the hunter. But I like that kind of subversion of expectation. You think, oh yeah, this is gonna take him out, and no, it does not.
Oh
yeah. I also quite like Michelle Rodriguez's fake out when she's does the whole, if I turn into one of those things, I want you to do the right thing and put me out of my misery. And, then just sits for a bit, and she puts the gun to her head, and then she just grabs it and says, not yet.
Yeah.
And she is, like, really good at delivering, like, grizzled old white guy lines.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, let's put her in, like, another remake of Pet Sematary as a lot of history down that road. It's a lot of history down that road. A lot of animals get hit by that road.
A lot of history down that road. My family drove it at really fast speeds. I don't know. I haven't seen the Fast and Furious movies.
You don't need to.
Sometimes dead is better, to be fair.
Yeah. Mila Jovovich kills a zombie by putting her thighs around his neck and breaking his neck. If anyone asks, that's my preferred method of exiting this world.
Has to be Mila Jovovich, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My only stipulation.
I'll take Famke Janssen. Same method.
What
Nice.
about
Gold
Sonya
Rage.
from...
Yeah. From Mortal Kombat 1, not Mortal Kombat 2.
Yes.
It's too violent for two.
Yes, Queen. Snapping her neck with those thighs.
And two last notes. I do like how the movie kind of starts and ends with the eye opening on Alice. Oh yeah, we didn't mention the whole Alice Red Queen descending through a world of madness. The references to Alice in Wonderland there.
Yeah, how appropriate for a Resident Evil film.
And my final is for all the people out there thinking, you know what, I'm going to watch this masterpiece of cinema. If you want to play a drinking game along with it, so drink every time there's a kick to the face. Drink every time they enter wireframe mode, because they do that in every single movie. Every time there's slow-mo, and any time Alice says either I don't remember or I remember.
Forget along
Beautiful.
with Alice.
She says it a lot when she sings that Earth, Wind and Fire song.
Alice, Wind and Fire.
Yeah.
That is going to just about do it for our quick firing. But Paul, what about the OG team? OG team. That's me trying to do like the safe room music from Resident Evil 2. OG
Wink.
This is an action scene, get ready.
OG team.
Blokebusters podcast said the laser grid was a fun part. Reminds me of the opening of Cube. Yeah, there we go.
Yep.
We're all in on this together. We're all in this
great.
together. Tighten the belts. Plus, the interface for the AI was a really good choice. Something about a little girl matter-of-factly stating, "You're all going to die down here," really works.
Mm-hmm.
A bit naughty.
Yeah, nothing creepier than a creepy little kid.
Yeah. Well, malicious clown.
Nothing scarier than children.
Imagine a kid in a clown costume. Though.
I don't want to. Stop it. Why am I picturing?
I'm out. Milo, do it now.
You're all going to die. Honk.
I will go.
TV in Space says, I think what I like is the sense of fun it has. Every time I watch this film, I've just been entertained. Some of the sequels take themselves way too seriously. So, directly contradicting what you've been saying this last hour. I don't know, I forgot the word.
Totally does. That's me disproved. Katrunk-kating.
It's been a bad day for me. Just to talk about that for a second, I don't remember the later ones having much more fun because they're all still the same sort of... Feels like it should be high budget, but looks very low budget. Very steely faced.
No, I definitely... They get campier. They get more slow motion,
Yeah.
more kicking. They move further away from any sort of marriage to the games, and it
Alice
just develops
gets
its own weird
superpower-
identity. Yeah. She gets superpowers, she loses superpowers, she gets clones,
Yep.
she loses clones.
Yeah, she loses superpowers, but still is pretty much superpowered anyway.
Well, you wouldn't want to have it with no superpowers. That'd be boring.
No. And I'm actually quite surprised the games never just said, fuck it, you're going to play as Alice in this one.
That could at least be a special, when you complete the game on hard or something. Instead of the tofu guy, you get Alice.
Yeah.
Similar concepts. Any other things in the OGP?
Yeah, so... give me a second! Ellen Graham said, oh man, do I love Michelle Rodriguez. She carved out a niche in Hollywood playing action women with very nice biceps, and I always get the sense that she enjoys playing these brash badasses and is happy to do them forever as opposed to buying into the usual mother, daughter, wife characters for women. This movie scratches that trash naughty's itch that I sometimes get, where I really sometimes just crave archetypes and typical action settings. The laser cube sequence is pretty gory, cheesy fun, where you see characters not being usual horror movie red shirts, i.e. trying to jump or dodge the laser and dying regardless. Not really that important either, but Mila Jovovich is stunning in red, and there really isn't a hair colour she can't pull off.
Fashion corner, wink.
Wink.
Yeah, there was a really interesting quote from Michelle Rodriguez where someone was asking her, so do you think it's weird that you tend to die in a lot of your movies? And she's like, well, I refuse to play the girlfriend and I refuse to play the mother, so I usually end up being the one who dies.
Yeah.
Fair. She's really good in Widows. She gave a legitimately really good performance in that.
Ah, cool.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
I wanted to see that movie. It kind of just shot in and out of cinemas before I got
I
a
know,
chance.
right? Came and went.
Like, they pumped it up so much with advertising, and then it just wasn't even there. And I was like,
Yeah.
oh, shit.
I mean, it had problems in as much as it set up a gang of really cool, awesome, interesting, developed women, and then spent most of its time with Colin Farrell.
No.
And
The
his
most
adventures.
interesting woman.
The most interesting woman of the film, so... Yeah, it had its issues.
Phil Harker-Smith, also from Baby Beard, continues. Eleanor's right. The dude getting cubed by a laser grid is very satisfying. I do remember this being entertainingly stupid. Doesn't Miller dropkick a zombie dog in this one?
Yes! Isn't that the one?
Yeah.
Is it this one? It is.
What was that Fifth Element?
Man, the laser scene really stuck with a lot of people. I loved the verb there, the laser grid cubing someone.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, he does get cubed.
Double meaning there.
Yeah.
And another plus, says Phil, the movie was a high point for the series. All downhill from here.
Nah.
Controversial.
I won't have that. Is that borne out by Rotten Tomatoes even? Let me check that.
Are they all just hovering at the 30% mark? That's it. Thanks, OG. Team.
OG team. Oh wow. Okay, highest rated is the final chapter with a whopping 37%.
There we
It's
go.
just proof audiences don't know quality. Fuck.
And then this is second with 36.
Yeah.
At least it's the second one.
Well, justifiably
wow.
so.
What a bizarre little franchise this was. What a little curious
Yeah.
insight into this world this has been. Okay, so with that, let's talk about the one better thing. The one better thing.
Sure. I mean, 28 Days Later, I think, is probably my favourite zombie movie in general. But
Sublime.
I think, we've got irresponsible authority figures. You've got this great cast. The soundtrack is fucking incredible. Is it John Murphy?
It is John Murphy, yeah.
I always get it mixed up with John Bryan, who is nice plinky piano man from Michel Gondry movies.
Also, excellent usage of things like Brian Eno's and an ending.
Yes.
Just really good stuff throughout.
Yeah, really, really great. Just beautiful aesthetic.
Yeah.
When did it come out? It wasn't that long after, or around the same time.
No, it was same year, 2002. That's why it was on my special
wow. Yeah.
DVD of trailers.
There we go. Okay, that's why it was on the B side of the Resident Evil disc.
And when did its garbage sequel come out?
28 Weeks, 2007, because I saw it with my goth girlfriend that I had at the time.
Yeah, I wasn't too much of a fan of 28 Weeks Later. I thought
No, it was terrible.
Lost
I
a
hated
lot
it.
of what made the first one special.
It has some memorable moments, though. That whole opening sequence is quite impactful, and
Ending
the
with Robert
helicopter.
Carlyle.
Yeah,
sprinting
abandoning
away.
his family. That was great. And and
Yeah.
the other scene I always remember from 28 Weeks is when the fucking helicopter is used to take out a sort of row of zombies with its rotors.
Which is very schlocky.
Very schlocky, very out of place. Quite enjoyable.
Yeah, that belongs in one of these movies.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it really does.
But this
They wouldn't have
movie,
shit.
you're in a tight, very small, cramped apartment block with Gleason. Brendan Gleeson playing Ray Winston, and very real social issues there as well. And
No, in
Christopher
fucking
Eccleston
England.
playing that awful command army captain, where might is right, and just so grody. It's just great. It's gorgeous and it's tense and fucking scary, and the zombies run. So yeah, watch that.
Elliot,
Yep.
what is your one better thing?
Oh god, because I think my main thing is I just wanted this to be a bit more fun, and if it wasn't gonna do that, God, I think for the more serious side, then like I really do enjoy the remake of the Dawn of the Dead.
The Zack Snyder one.
That's like, because I mean, I watched the original out of curiosity, and like I think I might have done myself a disservice by watching it after the remake, because I think the remake just had a lot of the
a lot more
screws tighter.
energy and
Yeah, and Ty Burrell as the bad guy is amazing.
That is entertaining. Ty Burrell is the bad guy. It has its merits, but I wouldn't. Dawn of the Dead, the original George A. Romero film, is one of my favorite films of all time.
They're very different animals, but
they are very different films. Yeah, Zack Snyder made a much punchier, sort of jazzier, kind of flashy experience, whereas Romero was more about the sort of loneliness and disaffection of consumerist lifestyle. So yeah, very different kind of thing. But yeah, I like Snyder's film. It's entertaining.
Yeah, so like I'm just trying to think as far as like modern zombie things that like, because I really couldn't get from the overall tone of this movie whether or not they were trying to be more fun or serious about it. I think they were trying to be serious.
I think it was a little too caught in the middle,
Yeah. So, from that, I don't actually know which way to go on that. How about you, BT?
Oh, man. Well, as previously stated, Resident Evil 4 Afterlife is probably the best of the series, but 3 is worth checking out, and I have mixed feelings on 5 and 6. Okay. A really good Australian zombie movie called Wormwood is definitely worth checking out. It is batshit crazy, but that's what's great about it. Basically, this version of zombies expel like a flammable gas, so they start using them as fuel for cars. And it's just, it's insane, but it knows it's insane, and it loves that. Shaun of the Dead, great. If we haven't mentioned that already, that needs a mention if you want more of the comedy. And my other recommendation, when you guys were saying, hey, BT, you get to pick, I kind of wanted to pitch All Cheerleaders Die for one that really did some things I really wasn't expecting it to do. So it was on Netflix. I'm disappointed. I've not had a chance to rewatch it to see if what I liked about it was all the surprise of it subverting my expectations, and if it's actually any good. But my memory of it is just I loved it. So yeah, if you can track it down, it's a weird one, but well worth a watch. Interesting stuff going on in All Cheerleaders Die.
Good stuff.
Oh, actually, I just remembered. Dead Meat is an Irish zombie movie that starts out with like a zombie strain of mad cow disease. It's very fun.
Fuck, I feel like I've seen that. That rings a bell. Yeah, good stuff. There's some interesting Irish horror comedies around. There's one on Netflix I watched the other day, Extraordinary, it was called. It was quite funny. It was about sort of ghost hunter in a rural island. It was quite funny. Right, my one better thing, obviously any Romero or Italian zombie movie from the 20th century is worth a look in, but I want to talk about Resident Evil. Resident Evil 2 might be the first game I ever completed. From my, as far as I can remember. And I just, maybe Putt Putt Goes to the Moon I completed before that, but it's the first proper game I completed. And I just
Space
love
3D pinball.
I just love this franchise. Resident Evil Remake and Resident Evil 0 came out the same year as this film, and I remember that summer and how happy I was playing those two games on my newly acquired GameCube. It was the fucking best. And if you've never played one, and you are a gamer, I recommend starting with the Resident Evil 1 remake, which is available in HD on Steam, PS4, and Xbox One. Good luck with those tank controls, though. That might put you off. If that is problematic, then the other essentials would be Resident Evil 2, the original or the great remake from last year, because it's
so good.
The remake was brilliant. It perfectly kept all of the stuff that made it nostalgic for people like me who grew up playing it, whilst also bringing in so many and me. And so many, and me.
It was him.
But also updated what it needed to update to make it feel like a fresh, new, exciting experience.
So suffocating.
Which included bringing over quite a lot of the features of Resident Evil 4, which is the other essential one I'd recommend. It's available on every format ever conceived, that fucking game.
Yeah.
And Resident Evil 7, which was a real return to form, because there was a 10-year period there where we just accepted that Resident Evil was never going to be good again. That was just a thing that was true. Resident Evil used to be good, and then Resident Evil 7 came out of nowhere and turned it around. And it's been good since. Resident Evil 3 is getting remade next, and is actually released this Friday. So I'm very excited about that. Code Veronica next, please. So
Nice.
that's my take on the Resident Evil series.
I just like what Resident Evil 2, the remake, did even better than the original was create panic in me.
Oh yeah,
I think there's something more static about the original where it's still pretty high octane when you've got a few bullets left, but there's nothing like this game for making me just empty a whole round of ammo into the air, like the side of a zombie's head, because I was panicking so much.
Yeah,
and just shitting myself, and then I'd empty the gun and then go, okay, well I've got 30 minutes of running ahead of me now, so better just pull the blinds up so I can let some daylight in.
The lack of ammo in that game is really interesting because you want to take shots that are going to count.
Yeah.
And it leads to the sunk cost fallacy because you'll shoot a zombie in the head and it doesn't kill him. And it's like, well, I don't want to have spent 1 bullet for nothing, so I've got to kill him now. And it's now you spent 5 bullets, instead, or you could have just run away after 1. So, yeah it's that brilliant feeling where stuff is scarce enough that you'll get little moments regularly throughout the game where it's like, I'm fucking ready. I've got like 30 bullets. I've got 2 healing things. I'm good.
Oh, there we go. One better thing, if we're talking video games, The Last of Us, because I get that moment throughout playing that whole thing. Because neither me or you, BT, really played the Resident Evil games. Hey,
no. But I did play Last of Us, and winter in that game was my favorite video gaming moment of like that decade.
Yeah.
But yeah, I out of the entire series, I've only played like one shitty light gun game for the Wii.
Oh wow! The Umbrella Chronicles.
Yeah, that was the one.
Fuck. Yeah,
and I mostly finished Resident Evil 4. I don't think I finished it. But yeah,
it had its drawbacks, but Resident Evil 4 was out. I love that game.
That was one game for me where I didn't discover there was a run button until many hours into my playthrough. Fucking hell.
That is a fun conversation to have with gamers of what crucial element did you not realize for pretty much the entire game.
Yeah.
Oh shit, I can reload. So, so that'll do for the one better thing. The one better thing. Let's start with you guys. How can people find out about the Simpsons Index and Indux? How can they find out about the Simpsons Indux?
Yeah, well, we're reviewing ducks, and this week we're doing like a mallard, I think. I don't know. The Simpsons Index. Yeah, podcast where we watch and review 3 episodes of The Simpsons at a time, but each one comes from a different decade. We like to look at how the show's changed over the years, for better, but mostly for worse. And you can find all that at thesimpsonsindex.com, at Simpsons Index on all the socials.
Yep, and our other podcast is Thrones of Game, the Game of Thrones podcast, where we watch the series backwards. So I've already watched the entire show, but Elliot had never seen a single episode until we started doing the reverse watch. So it gives us a really unique perspective on the show. We talk about, just everything, and just how do we get here, what's going on, and it's a nice, short, fast, loud kind of podcast.
Yeah, we like to watch TV bad is basically the takeaway from it.
It's been such an interesting experience, though.
Yeah.
Have you got plans to do any other shows in this way, like Bad Breaking or something?
Someone did pitch Lost, and we're like, ooh, that could be fun.
Yeah.
Slol.
Yeah.
Oh, Christ. And Paul, how can people find out about all this stuff that we're doing?
You can get in touch with us on Twitter, and the French can get in touch with us on Twitter and Facebook at OGTpod. You can send us an email at gmail at ogtpod@gmail.com. We put the call out for the OG team on Facebook and Twitter now, so I didn't say that in the right order to suggest which one we'd been doing it on all this time and which one was the new one, but they're on both of there now, so
figure it out.
While you're listening to me, just go and do it. Other than that, we are on Spotify now, along with iTunes and all other great podcatchers. We also have a Patreon, and pissed, Elliot here is a member. He's a patron.
Hey.
And as promised, for donating a certain tier every month, I drew a picture of him and sent it over. He kind of looks like a Chinese warlord. It wasn't intentional, but it looks great.
Fuck, do I have to do the next one?
I haven't shown you. You'll get a BT live reaction of it. But yeah, I have been enjoying the Patreon content. The Paul's pitch is a very good idea for a series. And Salt loved the mini reviews as well.
Oh, beautiful.
There we go. That's a picture he drew of me.
Well, you do.
Yeah. It looks really racist.
He brought out that side of you, that racist...
Yeah,
that racist caricature side of you.
Well, the benefits both ways. Not, yes, you have to put up with exclusive content for as little as $1 a month, but you also get a vaguely racist drawing of a white person for your troubles. So
Well, I know what you were going for because, as a lifelong stoner, I do have, quite, tiny eyes.
But it's just like your beard became very Fu Manchu.
Oh, yeah.
Or Pai Mei.
It's the perspective of the face as well. I don't know if you can tell, but I'm only a fairly accomplished artist. And, it just...
Semi.
It just has that... quasi.
I was going to say semi-published, but I couldn't think of what the artist painting equivalent of being published is. Displayed? Semi-yes.
I like semi-published, though. They printed the first half, but not the second.
Which can be seen in my drawing of Elliot.
Published onto the back of a duck. Released into the wild.
But we're very thankful for everyone, including Elliot, who's a patron, and for letting us do the things we love to do. And we're thankful to Elliot and BT for coming on and talking about this thing.
Oh, thanks for having us. It was a good time.
Yeah.
Oh,
been
I know BT wouldn't pass up the opportunity to talk about Mila Jovovich. What did she do again?
I believe she kicked zombies in the motherfucking face. But I was genuinely stunned you hadn't done this one yet. This was one of those notorious movies that people always go to. So.
Oh, man. It was a joy.
I was so happy I got the chance to do it. So thank you.
I'm Paul motherfucker in the face, Salt.
Yeah, I'm that, but Goodman.
Paul O'Neill.
Oh, we lost him. God damn it. Well, before we shoot him in the face, or kick him in the motherfucking face, depending on how high up we can kick.
I told you how I want to die.
Oh shit, Mila Jovovich's thighs over here. Remember, the one good thing about Resident Evil 2002 is that Mila Jovovich does kick a dog in the motherfucking face.